Welcome to episode 40 of Venti Questions, the show with friends, coffee, and conversation. My name's Michael.
And I'm Chris, and today we're talking about our favorite topic ever, political parties.
That's right. We're talking politics like we know what we're talking about.
Because we know so much about politics.
I mean, this is one of my favorite things to study all week long.
Well, Michael, just to let you know, I'm the best of politics ever in the whole wide world. I know all the politics, all of the politicking, I know.
Well, all you have to do now is just listen all the way to the end to figure out what our opinions on the political parties currently are. Yes.
What's new with you?
I mean, not too terribly much. It's kind of like a rinse and repeat, I think, for us for the last couple of months.
Speak for yourself.
Whoa. I did actually do something I haven't done in a while. Because of the way that I've been editing recently, I have not been playing my team fight tactics nearly as much.
What?
Well, because before what I was doing is I was having to do each thing separately. And so while I was just doing the audio editing, I would also be playing a game.
Mm-hmm.
But then I started video editing one episode while audio editing a different episode at the same time.
Mm.
And I didn't feel like then putting on the third screen a game. I'm like, I like to multitask, but let's not go crazy.
Yeah.
Although I literally could do it. I mean, it's a very simplistic game, so it's not like it's a lot of like, it's kind of like pay attention for a second. It kind of does itself. Every round you have to like do a couple of quick switches and you go back in.
Right.
But anyway, because this week I was catching up on a lot of our videos, I was just doing them a little bit differently. And so in that, I was able to actually play some. And it's once again been a new like season or whatever in the game. And so they've changed around all the characters again, and there's new characters in and taking out some of the old ones and blah, 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 blah. But this particular one has so far been the one I've enjoyed the most.
Look at that.
All of my characters that I typically like to play with got like cohesion boosts with one another and stuff. And so like it's perfectly in the meta right now. I've played like 5 games. I won 4 of them and came in second on the other one.
Look at you. You're a pro.
And I'm just like, what the hell is this shit? Usually it's like win 1, come in 8th place. Come in 3rd place, come in 6th place. Like it's just like total jumps, But this one's just been like da, 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 da. So it's been kind of cool.
You've assembled the perfect team.
But yeah, so that was cool. I enjoyed that. Also, just being able to get caught up on a lot of stuff as far as like the editing and whatnot has been nice too, because it's already if things went wrong, we would be good for the next couple weeks.
That's good.
Without any more editing. Still like clicking a couple, like uploading things, but
Sure.
That is part of the plan tomorrow is to get that out of the way.
That's part of the thing that's been going wrong too.
Yeah. That was actually a thing that today, which would have been the day that our episode 37 should have went onto the YouTube channel. It did. Like 8 hours later than it was supposed to, because for some reason it just wouldn't finish uploading. And then episode 36, when we had Jonathan come by, That one is never going to make it to YouTube because the video is so corrupted that I tried 4 or 5 different ways to fix it. I fixed the video to where I can watch bits and pieces of it, but it is not possible for it to be rendered to be able to then upload it, nor is it capable of, in that program, just playing for me to then screen grab it, because I tried to do that too. And it's just like, so after about like 12 or 14 hours worth of like messing with it, I went, you know what? There's an audio version.
You know, good thing there's a lot of like short form questions and moments that you can pull video clips from, right?
I mean, absolutely not, because of Jonathan.
Oh,
but,
come on.
But theoretically, okay, so I think I know a way I could fix it. But basically what I'd have to do is find every place that it freezes. So like right now I know that at like 13 minutes in it freezes. So I'd have to record the first 12, then figure out exactly which frame it would start playing again after the 13 minutes, and then start recording again from there, and then take those 2 separate things and then input them in from a third-party screen grab to go. And I'm just not going to do that for 2 hours.
I think you should just do this. You ready? Here's my idea here. You just play the intro if it works. Of us, and the introduction, who he is, and then right when we're about to go into the topic, it goes. You just, and then and then it's just there's a disturbance, like video disturbance or something like that. You just render some kind of cool thing, and then just
it's just the audio,
and it's just the audio. Then it's like, we apologize. You know
what's really funny about that? So even after I fixed the video, the last like 3 minutes of video just don't exist. Yeah. But so the audio just keeps going. So I had to make a message to pop up onto the screen that says like technical difficulties. It says, sorry, we lost the footage of these last 3 minutes. Please enjoy the audio.
Right.
So I already have that.
Good. Just do that after the intro and call it a day. You don't have to worry about editing.
Look, the way I look at it is it's the lost episode. If I ever get that bored, I still have all the files.
There it is.
I just don't think it's going to happen. So,
well,
that was basically my fun last couple of 4 or 5 days. What about you, my dude?
I've been a little busier, but I'll name one of the things that I've did. I read, based on a recommendation, I read a graphic novel. So it's a DC Black Label release.
Oh, okay.
And it is a Catwoman one. Mm-hmm. It's called Catwoman, A Lonely City, I believe it's what it's called.
Not familiar.
It's I don't know how to say the guy's last name. It was illustrated and lettered by Cliff Chiang.
Okay.
It's like CH, like AIANG or something like that. It's like spelled a little differently. It's not like Chang. It's,
okay.
So I butchered his name, but you guys can look it up. And it's based on Selena Kyle, who goes to prison.
Okay.
And it's caught. And there's during the night of this event that happens. And it's this big cataclysmic type event where the Joker basically does his Joker thing and then converts a bunch of people into think like the Batman movie with Robert Pattinson, with the Riddlers. Like they just all kind of like a bunch of people who follow him on the dark web come up and like become henchmen.
Has like cronies.
Yeah, it's like that, but with Joker. And then it's like this night. It's like Devil's Night, but it's like Joker's Night or something. I forget what they call it. They call it a name. And you kind of learn throughout her memories, like as she gets out of prison and she's recounting like how she got there and this and that, like through the book, like things that happened within that. So there'll be parts that you might like. There'll be most parts that you probably wouldn't like. Spoilers.
Mm-hmm.
You gonna read it?
No, I'm
probably not. Right. Batman dies that night.
Oh, okay.
Dick Grayson, Nightwing, dies that night. Basically, I think Robin died. Like they all get killed basically in this thing, and Jim Gordon dies also. Barbara, and where we are now, she gets out of prison. It's 10 years from that moment. She's older. She's in her 50s, I want to say.
Oh wow!
But the cool thing is, and this is the thing that Ralph mentions to me, like she's like remembering like her youth, and like when she's doing those memories, she's wearing a different Catwoman costumes.
Oh, okay.
Like
so
from the comics.
That's how they differentiate. That's pretty cool.
Yeah, like they do that. Like, oh, when I first was starting out, and it was like, you know, whatever the one was, like TV series one,
yeah,
right?
Like Adam West
that,
one,
yeah,
right.
when she first met Batman, that's where she first met him, and that kind of thing. So it's like she was reliving those types of things and whatever. And it did go down the route of like they had some type of romance. She's like, you know, in another life maybe this would have been something we did, and you know, that kind of thing. Like, but it never got there, and because that night happened, right? So it's her kind of trying to figure out what happened and what this code word is, and like what Batman said basically on his deathbed when he was dying, because he took an explosion to the chest while he was apprehending Joker. Like Joker just suicide kamikaze basically.
Oh wow!
And so he's all fried and stuff, and he's like talking to her at the end there, and says this word, and it's this thing project thing he's been working on. So like 10 years goes by, and like she's like, all right, what the heck is this, you know? And so it's a kind of like a heist type thing where she breaks into the Batcave,
right?
Because the Batcave locked down. Oh, Alfred died that night. Alfred died prior to that, but Alfred is dead too in this story. Who
from the Bat family in this version is still alive? Because you didn't
Barbara.
say anything about. So there's no Tim Drake and there's no Jason Todd or.
I don't remember. I think I got to read it again in all honesty, because I just read it like to get the story, and then I need to like dig into some of the character stuff, because they may have done like a mention or something like that I breezed over, but they didn't go into detail about, you know, all of the Bat family.
Right.
There was like a page where they explained that it's probably from like a memory of like where people went, what happened. But they did show like a bunch of them all at once, you know, that night, you know, in a flashback type kind of thing. So,
right.
Anyway, so she assembles this ragtag group of, you know, people, which are ex-villains essentially, which she was familiar with before, obviously, and then some other people who are, you know, ex-hero kind of things, but like, and she's with Riddler, she's with Killer Croc. He got fat, so like he's got to like train and like kind of get back in shape again. They're all kind of training, but it's cool because she's older. She can't do a lot of the same things she was doing. She feels it. Right. Knees are pretty much gone, you know, like cartilage and like.
Dude, her cartilage would be any of the acrobatic type characters. They're screwed.
Yeah. Riddler and someone had a daughter, and like she's training her in acrobatics. So it's like, they do like the next generation of heroes kind of things, like coming into it a little bit too. But anyway, and then it's basically that the heist to break into the Batcave. And the big baddie is actually the good guy in the beginning, the mayor, which is Harvey, Two-Face. He, that night, became good, realized the error of his ways and this and that and the other.
Even with.
And he, you know, he used Batman's death and all of that as like the sacrifice, like as the thing that like he keeps referencing, like, oh, he sacrificed himself for the city, and I have to, you know, So like it brings him back to like the good side, and like he finds himself, and he finds like that positive stuff and whatever. And so he found Jesus, but but basically he got voted in and all that. Barbara's actually running against him this coming term in the story. So it's like there's that. And really they're using Catwoman, and they kind of allude to the fact that like she got out early, but he kind of helped with that because he wants to use her for the purposes of breaking into the Batcave, because they're using the Batmobile as a back door to get into the Batcomputer. So they're using some of Batman's systems to be able to police the city and keep, the civilians safe. And the police force, they're a tribute to Batman. They have like, Batman helmet type things, and like they're linked into some of the technology of facial recognition and all this kind of stuff.
So they're using his tech,
but they can't fully access everything.
Gotcha.
So when the Batmobile powers down, finally, they don't have any of it anymore. So they need to get into the Batcave to be able to really, access it and get in on it. So that's kind of what Harvey's doing. And so she knows that he's up to something, but obviously they don't know what it is. Big reveal at the end, all that stuff, blah, blah, blah. But, and then she finds out what this thing is, this code thing is. And what it is it's a project that he was using, and it had some flashbacks or some videos that she was playing, like of Alfred. And Alfred had cancer. He was dying or something like that.
Right.
He was getting really sick. He was on his deathbed, and Batman was experimenting with this. Alfred was helping him with this project, and it's basically using the Lazarus Pit and then combining it with something else to counteract the effects of the Lazarus Pit, like the long-term effects of losing your mind, and then the but using the properties of it to sustain life.
Right.
So he combined two different elements to create this to hopefully reverse and just heal you, basically just heal you.
Right.
So Alfred was on his deathbed. He's like, "You sure you want to do this? I don't know what it's going to do to you." This, that, and the other. He's like, "Hey man, I'm dead anyway. Let's give it, this is the last thing I could do, help you with." And he, administers it, and Alfred is, he's like healed. He like reverses like time, basically. He's like picking up a big turkey and like, he's like, "You should be resting." It's like, "I'm good. Like, I feel cool," Right. And he's like strength's back and everything. But then like it's only for a certain amount of time, like 2 weeks. And he deteriorates rapidly after that, and then basically dies, So it's like it gives you life, and it gives you all your strength back, if not more, for a sustained period of time for about 2 weeks. And then, so in a pinch, if you have one last thing you need to do,
right,
and you're dead,
right.
That's why Batman was saying this word, like, "Get me to this thing. It could bring me back for at least 2 weeks so I could handle some business."
Oh, gotcha.
Get affairs in order, kind of thing, or whatever that is. But, that didn't happen. She ends up dropping a grenade in there, destroying the thing, and takes care of whatever she needs to take care of. Barbara wins, and Harvey loses his mind in the process of trying to get this thing that was destroyed, and is caught like on his own cops body cam tech, which they did a cool little reference to be like, "Stop using those," or whatever, like the body cams, of like he pulled the gun and shot the officer, because the officer wasn't like doing what he wanted to do, using him as like, military, essentially his own private military. So he killed that particular cop, but that got caught on that the body cam. So Harvey's like showing him in his form, and basically that battle was Two-Face was allowing Harvey to be Harvey for X amount of time to get to a point where he can then really take over and do what he needed to do to win, I guess. So it was that battle between them. But it was cool throughout the book, because you're like, Harvey's like thinks he's doing the right thing. Like don't these people just see like I'm trying to help everybody here? He created a military police. There's no more masks allowed, so no one can be vigilantes anymore. It's illegal. Crime is at its best. Everything's good. He's like, hey, what do you think? We got rid of masks and now everyone's good. But he's using like police as military basically to patrol. So it's like, yeah, of course crime's great because you have tanks driving around.
Yeah, they've had that version in like every cartoon thing where they go to an else world.
Right. It's basically like that.
It's like when what is that? The Red Dawn version of Superman. Mm-hmm. When he's a Russian.
Yep. Yeah. So, but it was interesting. It was a cool play on things. It was cool to see the different characters and how they aged and where they ended up and what they, the relationships they've had and this and that and Penguin and like, all of them and all that kind of stuff. And some of the bad guys kind of went clean, a lot of them, and tried to like retired essentially because there was really no need for some of that. And just kind of how it phased into like the next phase of all their lives was interesting. But it was weird because it's like Batman's not in this world. Like, so what happens that Batman's not in this world, at that point. So it was kind of cool. But yeah, that was one of the things I read. And then I'm in the middle of reading one I'm not going to get into detail about, but I think it's called Day Tripper. And it's funny enough, a DC Black Label did not know, because it's not a superhero novel at all. Mm-hmm. It's about a gentleman who in Brazil, actually, it's where it takes place. And he dies, and there's multiple stories in the book, and he dies during a different time in his life in each of those stories. So that's what the book is about. Of what would happen if he died at 31. Where would his life be if he died at this? And it's like decisions that he makes in his life that lead to his death, but at all different stages in his life.
Interesting.
So it's pretty cool. So I'm like, just started that one, so we'll see. And it's like, oh man, like if he only just did this, or if he didn't stay there to do that, or if he didn't extend his trip, for that, then he would have been still alive. So it's like fate will find you kind of thing, but it's also, just like, you ever just think about like, if today's my last day kind of thing, what would happen or what would go on, and the people around you and all that kind of stuff too. What your life would be if you did this or that kind of thing. So it's kind of cool. It's a cool concept. I want to see how it all ties together, because that's going to be the real test. Because when you have those things that are really cool stories and like, really kind of pull you in, like, oh wow, what a creative like story arc, and then you're disappointed by like how they resolve it. Right. I'm hoping it's not one of those, because I really would like to enjoy it.
That's always the catch, really, when it comes to like any type of story where it's, here's 5 people that have absolutely nothing to do with one another that we're going to tell you all this stuff about, because in the very end, they actually all are coming together from different angles. If that last little bit doesn't pay off, even if everything else up to that was great, it ruins the entire thing. It's like an all or nothing type of deal. Yeah. So so Tom King, he's one of my favorites, who writes for DC a lot, and he's done some for Marvel obviously too and whatnot. But he's either like, he hits and he's like, wow, and his stuff's good and it ties together, and you're like, this is cool. Like this is that's a really creative spin on like how he did that. Then you're like, cool. But he's got a lot of like hate, because sometimes he reaches for it and maybe it doesn't hit quite hard enough for some people, or they don't like the angle it went, and then like, oh, I was really liking it, and then he went this way, and then like, it kind of fell flat. So like, typical Tom King fashion, like people like say that a lot when they're talking about him for reviews. Like, I was excited and it was great, then I'm disappointed at the end. Like, so he's going to be a lot more, when I say relevant, I don't mean that he's not relevant now, but he's going to be, his name's going to be spoken by much more casual people in the next 5 to 6 years.
Yeah.
Because of how many of his versions of things are being
looked at.
the source material for the new DCU movies.
So I bought the Supergirl one.
You bought that one?
And now it's going to be, after Day Tripper, that'll be my next read.
When you're done with that one, I want to read it.
Okay.
I heard it's really good.
I hear it's good.
But yeah, it ought to be interesting. There's actually like talks about, I don't know. I don't remember 100% on this. This was like a month or so ago. But there was talks about like him actually penning the script for that one.
Interesting.
Or directing that one. Like something like super involved. And it was just like, oh, that makes sense.
And now I'm thinking, I don't know if it's Supergirl or Superwoman that it's called, whatever. It's the same person, just at what stage in her life she's at.
Yeah, it's Kara.
So, yeah, it is.
However you want to. Yeah.
Right. But yeah, so I'm interested in that one too. I also purchased, I know, busy. I also purchased the Ninja Turtles, Ronin, the one that you mentioned.
Oh, the Next Generation?
No, actually, the Lost
Yes.
Years.
Lost Years.
And that's on pre-order. I purchased the second volume of the DC Steel, whatever.
So I'm waiting for that one. That's when I was hoping you were going to say you bought.
Yeah. So
I'm going to steal your shit.
I did buy that one. And then volume 11 of Saga, which is going to be out, one. which I'm excited for. Just because it's like, can this thing end? And all honesty, because I'm committed. I'm in it.
Yeah, well,
I need to finish it.
Yeah, if you're on volume 11, like you got to make sure the freaking shelf looks good.
And I think there's another one after it. So I'm like, that's like 4 books. And I'm like, okay. And I'll just be like, I'll wait another year, I guess.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, no, I get it. What you do with that comic series is the same thing that I do with certain anime.
Yeah.
Where it's like, I can't watch week to week. Just let me know when an arc finishes and I'll come back and I'll watch through to that point and then I'll wait another like 6 months. Because it's just easier for me to deal with.
Yep.
So.
Yep.
But let's get into the main course for tonight's meal of
do it.
Stuff we know nothing about.
Right.
So I got some little questions for you about these things.
About what things?
Political parties.
What?
Yeah. So
sounds like a party.
So some of these questions are like really, really like in-depth questions. So I'm going to try to skip over some of those ones for right now.
Okay.
And just give you like the quick versions. I'm also saying there is going to be some of these that you're going to want to like really expand upon. Try to hold back just so we can get through some of these.
Should I answer in a...
Don't be Jonathan, but don't go like, yes, no.
Okay.
You know, in the middle.
All right. And then I'll be doing so in the spirit and voice of Donald J. Trump. I'm just kidding.
Please, God, don't do that. I can't. I don't want to have to listen to this twice. All right. So the first one. What do you think is the biggest problem with the two-party system in politics?
Hillary. Sorry.
Oh my
I just
God.
needed to throw one of them in there. I just
The worst part is that, like, from a certain point of view, that actually was a perfect answer to that question.
What's the
biggest problem?
I think I think the fact that there is a two-party system and one always has to oppose another,
right,
in the spirit of the two-party system.
Yeah.
So you can't agree. There is no meeting in the middle anymore, which there had been, in particular points of time when they just all wanted to be greedy. So
yeah, I feel like also like wartime is a great way to get people on board with one another, but obviously you have to have a war for that, and that's never good.
You can't just make one up.
Awkward. Yeah, no, I have a very similar answer to that. It's just when you only have two parties, it's either us or them.
Yeah.
Right. And the more that you have victories and or losses, when it's only us versus them, the more of a separation there becomes between us and them.
Yeah. You're taking two groups of people and you're literally dividing them, right? Yeah. So it's this big group versus this big group.
Right. And even if there was 3 there would be more of a rotation, because you would be like, yeah, they're both against me on this, but so-and-so's with me on this against so-and-so, and I'm with so-and-so against them on this. So it spreads out the hate.
Yeah.
And, it just does.
Yeah.
I know the answer to this one. Do you believe that third-party candidates have a chance of winning in national elections?
Modern time, I mean, they really, no,
No.
I don't think so.
I think the closest that we've seen in our adult life is pathetically Bernie. And that's only because people still were trying to vote for him even after he was no longer going to be the Democratic choice.
Yeah, there was a little bit of that with Ron Paul.
Ron Paul too. Yeah, I forgot about Ron Paul.
He really made a thing for himself.
The last generation, it would have been Ross Perot for those 2 terms in a row he ran for, because they actually had a presidential debates with 3 candidates.
Right.
I have not seen that since then.
Right.
And, I think part of the problem is that third-party candidates, it's not like there's, Democrats, Republicans, and then third party. Third party is separated into 50,000 other parties that are all 12 people strong.
Right.
So there's no coordination, you know what I mean?
No.
So,
I think just money, money falls for one or the other, and that's why third party isn't gonna.
Pepsi's not going to get behind a third party candidate. You know what I mean?
No one wants RC Cola.
That's no one wants.
Even though it might taste better.
Here's the thing. Nobody wants RC Cola when the other 2 are present.
Right.
The only time you have RC Cola is when it's the only option, because you're at Sam's Club and you're like, oh yeah, I forgot this junk is good.
Right.
But you still don't buy any more.
Right.
You know what I mean? You still don't take it home.
You don't think about it because marketing's. Exactly. You don't think about it until you get the free sample. Oh, you know what? I remember this.
Yep.
Right.
Yep.
So,
has social media affected the way political parties communicate with their constituents? I think I said that word correctly.
You did. I'm actually impressed.
You should see how it's spelled, because that is not that. I know that's the right word, but I'm like, ugh.
Yeah. Yeah, 100%.
100%, right?
I mean, there was
we're targeted now.
Right.
It's interesting.
Facebook essentially got in trouble for it at one point in time.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
So,
it's interesting too, because I am not registered for either political party. So I get bombarded then from both. So it's more fun.
I'm registered independent, actually. And which not a lot of people know. But and when I was in Georgia, I don't know what I was registered, but I get calls all the time from Georgia, still text messages from Georgia.
Oh, dude, I used to get phone calls from Donald Trump Jr. all the time.
I got that one. Yeah.
All the time.
Right.
That dude
He called you? He called me.
He called me 7 times.
Oh my gosh.
Dude. Yeah, I know.
Yeah.
To the point where I was like, dude, at this point, take me out to dinner.
Right.
But I agree. I feel like the social media has made it so that it's much more difficult to not know when elections are coming up. For someone who does not give a crap about politics at all, which is me,
right?
The fact that I'm always fully aware of when there's an election going up and at what level, that says something.
Yeah.
You know? Have you ever changed your political party affiliation? And if so, what prompted the change?
That's an interesting question, only because I have varying degrees of when you try to assign value to a political party and then align yourself with that, right? Mm-hmm. It's based on your beliefs or some of the things that you might like. So there are things that I do value from, the Republican Party, that I think that the Democratic Party they just have wrong. They have it wrong, right? but then vice versa, right? So,
No, I
so it's
agree.
like, it's really difficult. So there are phases in my life where maybe I'm more passionate about certain things. So during that time, maybe I would lean in one direction more than another, depending on how I mature as a human being. Whenever someone tells me I need to pick a side for something, I'm immediately rebellious and resistant to that.
Huh? Never heard that before.
Oh yeah. In school,
Explain how that works. I've never dealt with that personally.
the reason I hated school, it's literally because here's what you need to do. I'm like, I don't do it.
Yeah.
Homework. This is what nope.
No.
When I'm told that I need to do a thing because it's good for me or I should be doing it, I don't know why. I'm not saying it's a great attribute that I have, but yeah, no. So to answer your question, yes, I have. I wouldn't call it flip-flopping because that's that term that like got popularized whenever one person switches. Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. He said names.
That's when it became super popular.
Right.
Right. Yeah. No, I agree. I feel similar. So I as a adolescent, like early double digit, right?
Yeah.
Because of my environment, it was very much Republicans are the bad guys.
Right.
Just because they're pro-war.
Sure.
Sorry, I shouldn't say pro-war. Pro-military. That's what I really
strong
meant to say.
military, protect the nation, high walls, whatever. Right. Yeah.
And so as I got older, more like a teenage, and then I would say maybe like a early 20s type time frame. I agree with a lot of their other stuff though. Like there's certain things, just like you, that I'm like, no, that's a non-starter for me.
Like, you're leaning too far into that direction,
it's like,
just to satisfy the base, right?
Yeah, and unfortunately, some of the things that I diametrically oppose are like their main standpoints, and I'm just like,
Sure.
If it wasn't for those 2 or 3 things that are your main things, everything else, my dude, I'm with you. I'm eating the food.
Sure.
You know what I mean?
Sure.
But there again, I've moved more towards the Democrat side up until the last like 3 or 4 years.
Right.
Where now I'm kind of like, they're both freaking idiots.
Right.
And it's because now it's that same thing we've talked about before. It's just a pendulum. It was way too far on one side. And then the countermeasure was just like,
Well, they're just trying to define themselves, and they're catering to the base that they think they're going to be the most successful to get elected,
absolutely.
right? And that's what they always do. But values have changed over the years.
The problem is that both parties do that, but unfortunately, most people of our generation and younger, it's like they never got that message, and so they've been completely and totally caught off guard by the fact that they've been manipulated and controlled by by the Democrat side for the last like 15 years. Don't get me wrong. I'm not saying that what they're doing is wrong or that they're wrong. I'm just saying, like, you haven't seen the influence.
Right.
Are you freaking kidding me?
This is going to sound like
I agree with a lot of the influences, but the same token, like, you didn't see it?
Yeah. This is going to sound like I'm taking a side, but I'm not. It's an observation. But it's almost like when you're young and you're idealistic, it's easier to be on the side of the Democrats because that's who they're targeting. They're targeting
that's their point.
They're recruit right. And it's like, oh, it's freedom and this, and you don't want to be, this and that, like, equal rights for this and that. Like that's what they run on. That's what they say they run on, right?
Right.
But when you're looking at their actual policies and how it's supposed to help the people that they're trying to help and the freedoms that you're trying to, like, it's a bunch of garbage.
Well, the biggest problem is the fact that in my opinion, they have the message down pat.
Sure.
They still don't have the plan of how to enact the message.
There's no execution of message.
And the problem with Republicans, when you're looking from the outside looking in, is that they are the grumpy old man,
right?
That just realized their, child, doesn't matter if it's a boy or a girl,
Or
it either just knocked up the 12th kid in a row or is about to have their 12th child in a row, doesn't have a job, and now they're getting footed with the bill.
Right.
That's kind of like how they look from the outside, like just pissed off at everyone younger than them.
Right.
Because they're like, you're fucking up my plans.
Sure.
I'm trying to retire.
but to that point, and that's okay. That's the kind of the point I'm trying to circle back to is when you're young and influential and idealistic, that's typically the Democratic Party. As you get older and want to secure your finances and like do those things that are like the adult things as we're told we should do and all that stuff, you start guarding yourself a little bit more, and you start maybe pushing away the world and saying like, hey, like I want to make sure I'm good here. You know, why are you in my business? Why are you trying to take money in my pocket? Like, why are you trying? Like, so it's like less taxes, less, that kind of thing. Like, people progressively become, as they accumulate wealth, they don't want people to take it. So they progressively become more Republican, fiscally Republican, because of that.
Right. It's also like if you look at tax bracket just in general, obviously the people that are being affected negatively by a rule are going to be against it. Yeah. People that are being affected positively by a rule are going to be for it. And that's kind of where you can divide that line is that typically the ones that are benefiting from a rule are the ones that already have money because they've already put in the years to get to that point.
Right.
Versus the ones that haven't yet. So it's, just, it makes sense.
Right. It's the poverty line.
Right.
It's basic.
100%. So I got one last one for you. Do you think the power of political parties is growing or declining in modern politics?
That's actually a difficult one, I think.
Well, that's why I kind of want to end on it, because if we wanted to actually go into it, we can.
So I think it's growing, and I think that we're led to believe, and this is going to sound conspiratorial, but it's not. I think we're led to believe that they don't know. Yeah, exactly. They don't know what they're doing. These people are a mess. These Democrats, Republicans, they're all wrong. They're all crazy, right?
Okay.
That's
I didn't know whose voice you were speaking from. I apologize.
Yeah, it's they're like, we're just sick of both of these people. Like, you know what? But at the end of the day, the system's still going to do that. The system does. You're still going to go vote for the stupid people that you're going to vote for, and it's still going to happen that way. And I think in the meantime, whomever's pulling the strings, that's not a conspiracy. It's where the money is, right?
No,
where people are benefiting, the
if
wealth.
you look at history, both sides have done that. It's not a fallacy. It's proven fact. Gerrymandering happens on both sides.
Yeah. Industry affects politics in that way. Yeah. And sometimes it can be the other way around, but not really. And it's kind of like what we talked about Disney, like, and DeSantis is like, you're not going to win that battle, bro. Like, it's not going to happen, right? So but look at that example and then look at it in a larger scale of like the country. And,
okay, so not because I don't want this to become like a roadblock, but there's been like more stuff with the DeSantis thing.
I have no clue.
I opened up one article like a month ago. And now it just pumps these things in my face. Right. And headlines get me, dude. I am weak. Sometimes I see a headline and I'm like, well, I got to see what this is.
Right.
So one of the things now, and this is obviously coming from a very liberal Democrat side, because it's negative towards DeSantis, is while he still has not 100% said it, 100% he's going for president this election.
Oh yeah. Trump was indicted. Like,
oh no, I'm not. Yeah, but what I'm talking about is the fact that the second that he came back into Florida from being in Washington or something like that, and was here for I think it was like less than 12 hours, had a conference saying like, we're gonna get those damn Disney bitches, and then left and went to Ohio. Why does any politician go to Ohio?
No idea. Why?
Just the biggest swing, most important state in the frickin' like entire country.
Oh, yeah.
So obviously he's like starting his like grassroots aspect of it.
Yeah.
So my whole thing with this whole situation is
The mouse is gay.
you really think that he actually gives a shit about this state? The second that he is able to either get out of here, he doesn't care about Disney anymore. Did you hear the new thing?
No.
So now, because of what Disney's Reedy Creek board did, which is gave all the power back to Disney.
Right.
He's replaced the board. The board is now his cronies.
Right. But they
don't have jurisdiction over anything currently.
You told me that, yeah.
Right. So what they're talking about doing now is increasing the taxes around Disney to get back at Disney, and also then causing there to be tolls every which way to get to Disney.
Right. That's
Disney does not drive to Disney.
No.
It is an entity. It is not a person.
As long as
the only people
you're
that
the
are
tourist
screwed about
who stays in Disney, you're good. It's going to be all of us that gets screwed. So yeah.
Yes. So I think that once again,
it's the mouse's house, man.
He thinks he's David,
right?
But he's not,
and he's not Goliath either.
Oh God, no. And don't get me wrong, I understand that there was some aspects that you could look into and be like, okay, look, maybe Reedy Creek isn't handling things the way they should have been. I can agree with that, because I've seen some of the issues that they were actually like that caused this one way back. That he's saying caused it before, that in reality is because they went against him with the Don't Say Gay bill. That's what actually caused it.
Right.
But the biggest thing is that there was some stuff that's like, yeah, okay, guys, you're not really handling certain things correctly. I understand that.
Sure.
But it's all about how you go about it, man.
He's going to go to Ohio and be like, the gay mouse is trying to ruin American family homes. And, it's up to us here in the middle of the country.
I remember I told you that there was that time frame where over the time frame of a couple weeks, I dealt with a lot of people from Texas that were under the assumption that Disney was seriously struggling because of their stance on the Don't Say Gay bill.
Right.
And that there was like nobody going to the parks, or they were concerned that it was going to shut down.
Yeah.
And I was just like, they're sold out.
Yeah.
Like, they're at capacity.
They're sold out, and they raised ticket prices and sold out.
And they also now have this thing called Genie Plus, and now they make even more money.
Yeah.
So it's because it's all about perception. Obviously, how are you supposed to know what's going on over here when you live over there? You just have to listen to whoever's telling you,
right?
And if the person that's telling you has a particular point of view or a particular stance they're trying to sell to you, how are you supposed to know?
Right.
So that's
it.
What's
I mean,
happen.
but how long can the Republican Party bank on the American values to win over that base? Because I'll tell you, one of the reasons why, and it's related, because they're always sell themselves to be like church-going Christians, and
of course,
and whatnot. So,
which is horrible, because over the years, the Republican Party, that's not fair. Politicians have done the equal amounts, if not more, to shame the Christian religion than priests have done to shame Catholicism.
Maybe.
I said right about the same.
Yeah.
Because it's like every single one of these people claims that they're like all traditional values until they get caught fucking a whore in a hotel.
Well, it depends on,
and then they're like, well, I'm just trying to help her out.
It depends on how, right. I'm just, it's fair market value. She
fair market value. That has got to be the best response.
Commerce is there help stimulating
they were
the economy. You know. Yeah.
Wow.
What?
Stimulating the economy. What? That's what we call it now.
That's what it's called. Anyway,
bean.
So how long can you keep that act up? Right? Yeah, I got you. How long can you keep that act up?
It depends if you took something first.
I guess, you know, it's blue pill, buddy.
So much easier nowadays.
Right? You see, Alice? Just got that. Yeah.
Oh, not just for hymns.
Ooh, there you go.
There.
You got that subscription.
I don't make that kind of money.
But I stepped away from traditional Christian values in the church for this particular reason. Like,
did you feel like the streams were crossing too much?
I felt like, well, yeah, but I felt like
I meant that in
I know
totally normal way.
As opposed to
the double entendre.
Oh, got it. So I don't care who people have sex with.
Yeah.
I don't care who people choose to love. I don't care about any. That when you have a religion that like says everyone's going to hell for this particular thing and whatever it is, it's like, what? Why do you care? Focus on your tribe, you know, I guess, but don't sit there and like, I don't know. I don't understand. And they say it's the eroding of American society. It's the eroding of the family, of the nuclear family. It's like, okay, you said the same thing about African Americans and interracial marriage and all these, like, so if you listen to the bigotedness of the people saying these things, right, that's the problem, right? So maybe there's a lot of cool, good, positive stuff that the warm, fuzzy Christian beliefs, you know.
Oh, there's definitely some positives.
There's some awesome positives.
As much as I hate organized religion, I'm always the first to admit there are a lot of positives that is a really, really good thing.
To that point, we just watched Norm Macdonald stand his last one, and Chappelle said something that he said to him, that Norm said to him once, and you know he was going to this Christian church or whatever, and he said like, "Yeah, I don't even believe in this horseshit," you know, and it's like, "Well, why do you go?" It's like, "Because it makes me feel good."
Right.
There's nothing wrong with that, you know, unless you're making other people not feel good.
Well, but that's not the way I was going to go. There's nothing wrong with that, unless you actually do believe, and then you believe there is something wrong with that.
Sure.
Which is part of the whole reason why it's just like,
right, exactly.
Shouldn't you not care? He's putting his tidings in.
Right.
That's all you really care about anyway. Let's be real.
Right.
Why is it that every church wants to become a freaking mega church?
The goal eventually. It's a measure of success, but it's a worldly success. So it defeats the purpose of the thing that you're trying to do. Oh, it's so we can perpetuate the message.
Anyway, really? I can help you perpetuate the message for $200 and a good internet connection.
Right. Exactly. And that's the thing. And where we got on this is because
we went slightly towards my favorite subject.
It's related though, because you have a whole base that's screaming American Christian values, right?
Right.
And we talked about the hypocrisy of some of that.
Well, the biggest hypocrisy of it is that America is not a Christian country.
Right.
America is a non-denominational country by design.
Right.
And yet the same people that will talk about the First Amendment and the Second Amendment and the Fifth, because those are the only three they know of, forget that. Which one's 13? It's not. No, I'm thinking about bankruptcy as the 13th. Like,
but you're 100% right. It's those are the.
It's one of those things where it's like, and don't get me wrong, I'm not trying to say like I know all the amendments. I don't know shit about that. But I don't try to claim any of them either.
Yeah.
My thing is that people that will complain that X people are coming in and messing up what we have.
Yep.
Don't know the history.
Right. Or
choose not to accept the history.
Because they want to stand on that side of we're holding our ground, we're protecting our
Yeah,
X,
you know
Y, and
who else
Z.
used to do that? Everybody who's on a reservation.
Right. Yeah.
So the problem is that it's okay for you to come into a new area and kill off all the indigenous people and then tell them what they have to go do.
Colonize.
And then build a complete and total society that is supposed to be based upon no standardized language, no standardized religion, complete and total utter freedom until somebody that you don't like comes in.
Right.
And it's just like...
Right. And the nation is supposed to be...
And you want to talk shit about Germany?
Right. The nation is united under God. It doesn't say who's God. That's the problem. Even the forefathers who, right, as they're called, they're not saying Jesus, this, that, the other. No, it's just under God. Whatever your God is, you know. It's interesting.
I mean, the whole thing is a joke. I mean, all men are created equally was written during a time frame when owning people was allowed. So the whole thing's bullshit to begin with. Let's call it like it is.
But that's the problem.
But if you're going to try to claim it to be truth, then you got to claim all of it.
They weren't looked as people upon as people, and that's what obviously goes on with the homosexual or it's like oh well hey they're not
subhuman.
Right. It's like, oh well there's something wrong with it. Well that's the same stuff that was being said. So why put this much effort into making someone else miserable, I guess, or marginalizing a particular group of people? I don't understand it. But with a base that's going to run off of that as an undertone, as like,
how is that going to continue to move forward? Especially with,
it's not.
Once again, our pendulum is now, okay, for camera angle here, our pendulum is now way over here.
Right.
Eventually it's going to swing back, and then it's going to eventually in 100 years be way back over here.
Sure.
And I get that. It's a pendulum. That's how it works.
Every futuristic movie, they're all bisexual. So.
Exactly. Everybody has green hair.
Right.
So right here, this is the death of Republicans.
Right.
Because none of these people are going to want to join a side that wants them to not exist.
Right.
I shouldn't say none of these people. Some will, because it's tax benefits. But
sure.
And they're going to get them from the inside. But I think that's why there is such a heavy push right now, is because even Cletus is understanding that there's not as much of the next generation agreeing.
Right.
Because his granddaughter, Brittany, is now with, Mr. Washington from down the road.
Right.
And that scares the shit out of him.
Right.
You know what I mean? So it's like, I think that's why there is such like a stranglehold right now from the Republican Party of trying to we got to change it back. We got to change it back. We got to change it back, because they know if they don't, they won't exist.
Yeah. Which
I don't want that either. I don't like a two-party system. I definitely don't like the idea of a one-party system.
Yeah.
I don't like that either.
Doesn't sound like a party.
No, it sounds like a dictatorship.
Yeah.
A military state.
Now, to flip it to the other side, right? Because we just ragged on Republicans because that's so easy to do. And they don't have a sustainable value system.
They don't have
base
they
that's
don't
going
have sustainability in their opinions side.
Right. In that type of thing, right? But on the other side of things, they're a bunch of whiny pussies, in all honesty.
Oh, Democrat?
Oh my gosh.
Oh yeah, I know. The fact that you have to have coping spaces now in college for people to go and basically just
right, safe spaces.
Dude, just go to your car.
Yeah.
Or
your scooter or whatever you do.
Had to go scooter. Just because they're poor doesn't mean you can make fun of them, okay?
No, it's nothing to do with that. It's they're environmentally conscious. So they wouldn't have a car.
Oh, God,
that's my point. It's but that makes sense to those are the people that we got to save the environment. We got to do this. These are all great idealistic things that I agree. We should be conscious of that kind of stuff, right? But to sit there and to make everyone's life more difficult.
They're the freaking Facebook vegans of like yesteryear. Okay.
Absolutely.
That's all it is. I'm sorry. If everybody in this country went 100% solar, I know it's not possible, but let's just say they did tomorrow, 100% solar, 100% vegan, no emissions whatsoever, there would be less than a 2% decrease in the amount of emissions that the world goes. This country is not the fucking problem.
Right. And we'd have cows everywhere.
Yes.
Cows would be everywhere.
Here's one of the other things. Do you know what the percentage of land in the United States that is utilized for cattle is?
No.
Something like 43 or 60. I think it's 43% of land is used for cattle.
Right.
Now, mind you, not necessarily the land where a lot of people want to live.
Sure.
Because it's kind of like, Kansas and shit, like Oklahoma. No one wants to be there. But the point is still that, right?
Right.
But don't come at me because I threw a can away in the trash can instead of the recycling bin. Because this, let's just say it was that close. Usually it is. I don't care. Is not, it has literally, this is how much of our life I just ruined. That much.
Right.
So you just ruined more of my life by yelling at me for a minute for it.
I mean,
and now I'm going to, by spite, throw it on the ground next time.
And this is a petty statement to that, to add on. Your recycling bin's made out of plastic, and the more recycling bins you produce.
And then on top of that, your little dispenser, it only has one bin because it has two holes, but it goes into the same box because they don't actually recycle because there's not enough recycling plants to be able to sustain the whole thing because the whole thing's just a facade.
It's all landfill.
Anyway. But anyway, going back to politics.
Mm-hmm.
But no, that is the problem too with the Democrat side is that there's too many. I have an example. You watched Falcon and the Winter Soldier, right?
You asking that? Yeah.
Do better.
Right.
That's the perfect example.
Right.
Because it's, okay, I'm willing to do the best I can. Do you got any advice? No, I just want you to do better. Well, if I'm doing what I think is the right thing, and you want change, but then you're unwilling to be able to give a plan for said change that is actable, then what the hell are you doing?
Sure.
And I feel like that is not the the majority, but I would say the majority that is outspoken.
Right.
And that's the biggest problem is that just like there are plenty of Republicans that are like awesome freaking people.
Right.
Right. But that's not who we know. We know the extremists. Right. Just like in their mind, every single, Muslim or Hindi is an extremist from their religion or from their like thought process.
Sure.
That's all that most people know because those are the ones that are out there.
Sure.
They're the ones that are like outspoken about it because they're usually very, very pro whatever the heck it is they're for.
Right.
And I honestly don't know which ones are worse because the ones that are like die hard, like super liberal crazy are just as insane to me as the ones that are die hard super conservative crazy.
And they're just as hateful.
Yeah.
And that's the weird part about it to me.
They're just as vindictive as the other.
Right.
Like, here's my thing. There was when the oh gosh, I forgot what year it was. When Trump got elected, whatever election that was, 2016.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah. Okay. Sorry, my years are all messed up. Do you remember when there was all that stuff where people that were people that were wearing MAGA hats were being like attacked. And there was a lot of response of, well, they deserve it.
Right.
And the reason why that was the response was because at a lot of the MAGA rallies, people that were Democrats that would come in, they were being attacked. And it's like, you can't. One, you went to an opposing party's rally and you didn't think there was going to be a reaction.
You went to their rally and then spewed your opinion as opposed to
and then this person was just driving in a car and then got pulled out and beat to living shit now. Did they say something? Sure, maybe. No problems, cool.
Sure.
The justification though, and I feel like that's part of the problem right now that we have, is that there's too many extreme reactions when we find out that somebody is of the opposing side.
Sure.
There is an automatic response, even for myself, when I see somebody's political affiliation on like a sign outside of their house.
Right.
First off, if I see any kind of political sign outside your house, I think you're a dumb person.
Yeah, I agree.
Just immediately.
You're a target for somebody.
Right. And then if it happens to be somebody that I personally am like, freaking idiot, I do think lesser than.
Sure.
I can't help it. I'm not going to like egg your house. My brain doesn't go that far. Or even worse, blow up your house. But at the same token, I do think, oh, you're an idiot. Okay, cool.
Right.
And it's unfortunate because that is what, as we were talking about earlier, that is what the effect of political parties over social media has gotten us towards. Is the point now where it's no longer, oh, they have a different opinion. It's, oh, they're an idiot.
Right.
It's hard to come to the table to come up with a solution that is beneficial from both sides when you think that the person coming to the table with you is a moron.
Agreed.
And they both sides think that of each other.
I think the best sign you can have, if you're going to have a political sign, the sign doesn't exist, mind you, to my knowledge. It's going to be
Vistaprint, here we come.
Right. It's going to be a sign, and it says American democracy, and it's going to have the slogan of the one side and the slogan of the other side, and blue and red, and it's going to be both on one side, and it's going to celebrate American democracy at itself. And it's like, okay, if you think that this is such a great country, right?
I'm sorry.
That's your sign in your yard.
Can I tell you what I saw in my brain?
Yeah.
So I saw Horton from Horton Hears a Who shaking hands with Donkey from Shrek.
Oh, yeah.
And that's how I saw it.
Absolutely. There's your sign. So
don't do that.
Because he voted for Trump.
Of course he did.
Anyway, but
money.
Honestly, like if you want to be a real American or patriot, because that's the unpopular opinion.
Oh yeah, now if you're a Democrat, you're not an American.
Right.
I mean, I'm not very patriotic. Let's just be honest. That's not me.
Or if you're a patriot, you're definitely Republican.
Oh, absolutely. If
so
you have
one or the other.
If you have an American flag,
I do.
You are a Republican.
That's the general consensus.
100%.
Because you have to hate America. It goes back to like Vietnam. You know what I mean? It's like you have to hate America to want world rights and and human rights.
It's kind
of
like,
stuff.
and this is, it's the same thing. If you're military, you're automatically assumed to be Republican.
Oh, that's true. Yeah, you're right. Yeah.
And it's just like, I know a lot of military guys.
Yeah.
Former and current, and that's not the case.
Yeah.
I would say it's probably about 75-25.
There's a good percentage, and mostly it's because of firearms.
Oh yeah.
It's really it.
But I mean, but that's the other thing too, is that didn't used to be such a polarizing thing. I mean,
everyone had them.
Not to get into it, but that's mostly because there wasn't as many school shootings that people were aware of.
Correct.
But that's the only thing.
No, they were just gang shootings. They weren't school shootings.
It's different, though. It affects people differently.
I know.
People don't have a problem with somebody that they see beneath them being killed, but they do have a problem with their kids getting killed.
Yep. I think we spoke on this.
Yeah, we did. But I think actually we I don't think that one actually ever got posted.
Oh.
I think that was the one that we didn't hit the record
Oh, we
button.
didn't. You're right. Yeah.
No, but that's part of the problem is just that too many topics that should not be dividing lines for political parties have become hills for one side or the other to die on. Yeah. And because of that, we're being more and more and more divided, which is why if we did have a third party that was of equal strength, then I don't think that would happen as much. I don't think the country would be as divided as it currently is. Because, sorry, go ahead.
What would the third party, what would those values be?
I have no fucking clue.
Right.
I'm just saying if you have, a landmass and you go like this, you have a civil war.
Right.
Right. But when you try to pull some here and pull some here and pull some here, you have a constant tug of war.
There are multiple parties. And the most popular is libertarian.
Yes, but that is
Johnson, I think, was trying to run.
That's the little brother of Republicans.
No.
Yeah.
No, it's a weird combination of both. It is the special ed little brother of Republicans that has a crush on the Democrats, right? Because with libertarians, they're all about 100% leave me alone.
Mm-hmm.
No government.
No government.
Not small government. No government.
I know. I like libertarians.
And then on the personal rights side of things, do what you want to do with your body.
As long as it's not affecting others, because there is a personal responsibility that you have to your fellow citizen.
Right. Do your drugs. It should all be legal. It doesn't matter. If you want to personally have an abortion, you personally have an abortion. Like, so it's a mutant offspring, like, of both parties, in my opinion.
But if you say libertarian, normal person goes Republican Light. It's not Budweiser, it's Bud Light.
Sure.
Not currently. Well, currently Bud Light is only for Democrats.
Oh, is that it? Yeah. Is that? Oh, yeah. You're talking about the CEO. Yeah.
Have you not?
Yeah.
Seen
I know
the fallout.
Yeah, I've seen the fallout. Yeah.
Oh my God, it's been the most hilarious thing. Do you know how many people on TikTok I have seen?
The cans. Yeah. You should collect them all.
Get rid of all of their Budweiser type stuff, and then go grab a different brand that is still owned by Anheuser-Busch.
Yeah.
Because they're so stupid, they forgot that is not their only thing they own.
Yeah. They're going for Natty Light, you know?
And it's just like, same company.
Right. Natty Ice.
Oh my gosh. It's so funny.
That's what libertarians are. They're Natty Ice, right? I mean, that's them.
No.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
They're not Natty Ice because they're not that cheap. They believe in a fair tax.
They do believe in a fair tax.
I like the fair tax.
Do you?
Yeah.
Wasn't it Rush Limbaugh that's been trying to get that thing going for like ever?
No, it's Sean Hannity.
Sean Hannity, that's who it is. I'm sorry. I get nutballs confused sometimes.
Yeah. Because Sean Hannity was the one that...
Yes.
all the time. And then Ludacris would cover for him whenever he was on vacation.
It's funny.
Remember that?
I do remember that.
That was just like, I'm sorry, who? You guys are friends?
That's funny.
What? That was a really awkward moment in time.
That's when I realized, oh wait, he's not a serious like political guy. He's an entertainer.
Yeah.
Because I thought it was like, oh, it's political. Like it's just entertainment news.
Well,
entertainment politics.
Here's
not
the
real
thing.
politics.
Here's the thing. most entertainment news like that is particularly towards one particular side currently. Oh, did you hear about the settlement?
What's that?
The Fox settlement with the Dominion voting machines.
Oh, no.
So they had to pay them like hundreds of millions of dollars
For the propaganda that they. Yeah.
But it was a settlement. They didn't go all the way. And part of the settlement is that they did not have to acknowledge it or apologize for it on air, or basically like it just goes away.
Yeah.
And so because of that, everyone else on every news program has just been like, so because they don't have to say it, we'll go ahead and say what they should be saying. Oh, right. It's been hilarious.
That's funny.
But yeah, no, it was 647 million or some ridiculous amount. But yeah, it's basically what ended up happening was they were going to go like to trial until they found out like all these felonies that like 2 or 3 of their main like people would be like liable for if they lost in there. And they were like, okay, never mind.
And it's also looking at like the discovery phase of a lawsuit to that magnitude.
Oh yeah.
Everyone's business is out there forever. From experience dealing with something similar on a smaller scale.
It leads to a lot of firings.
Oh yes. And there is some collateral damage for sure. So,
well, I mean, that's the big thing is just that there's, what is the name of that news station? Something Max. It's like uber Republican, like to the point where like Fox News denounces it and wants to like get as far away from it as possible. But it's not a news station. It is
like Alex Jones and like
it's like the My Pillow guy level.
Oh gosh, okay.
Yeah. Like I think he has like a show on there.
I don't know.
But like I can't, it's something Max.
I'm sorry.
And it's
that's how you know I'm not
for Max or something like that.
That's how you know I'm not hardcore Republican. It's like I have no idea what you're talking about right now.
It was from like 2 years ago, maybe 3 years ago. Right. But yeah, no, they were almost immediately sued because they called themselves like a news network or something like that.
I do recall hearing something.
And so then they had to change it because of the fact they had to be like, oh, hey, none of our stuff's actually backed up by any facts. So we're not really a news program.
The opinion news program.
Yeah, but they weren't allowed to say news anymore or some shit. It was really interesting. Yeah, if I took the time to look it up, it'd be better. But
ONP.
I don't care enough. But yeah, anything else on political parties before we finish up?
We trashed both. We briefly talked about libertarians.
The Green Party's retarded. Okay.
Yeah,
anyone
else?
Is
that still a thing? A libertarian. I do want to mention the thing. This guy by the name of Johnson, I forget his first name, was running a few years ago, and it's like he had this funniest little slogan thing, and I'm trying to remember what it is, but it was hysterical, and it was like innuendo type thing, talking like the Johnson or something like that. It's like, why have this or this when you can have the Johnson? You know, why have the right nut or the left nut when you can have the Johnson?
Wow.
That is awesome.
If I was only registered to vote.
And then he just did something super crazy or stupid. Oh, he didn't know something with geography. I believe what it was. Like
what do you mean Nevada's in the West?
It was something stupid like that, like a country, and he didn't say it was a country. He said something was a country that it wasn't a country or something like that. And they're just like, okay. Oh, they asked him about a current event that was going on in this country. And then he's like, I'm sorry, what? Is that a country? Like he said something stupid like that. And then I was like, all right.
Well, we're no longer riding the Johnson.
He doesn't even know the world. He doesn't know. And he wants to be president. So it's like,
Well,
that ended.
that happens.
That happened.
There you go.
Anyway, I thought that was funny. But he got a lot of media, for surprisingly for that party. Like the campaign was doing some stuffs. So
I mean,
up until the disaster.
I think that the best time frame that a third party really would have had was during the 2016 election when it was Hillary and Trump.
Oh my God.
That would have been the perfect time for a solid third party candidate to actually have a chance.
Trump would destroy that person though, in terms of a on stage debate type thing.
The only person that could actually, such a controversial opinion. The only person that I think is like would be immune to Trump in a debate would be like Ben Shapiro.
Interesting.
Because that man cannot be shaken.
That's true.
He is the best like debate specialist I've ever heard.
Yeah, he's good.
And while I may not agree with all the things that his opinions, they are the most researched and fucking like he knows what he's talking about whenever he talks.
And he knows how to talk.
Oh,
so like
so good.
He can spin it, even if he doesn't know. Well, I don't know about this. I'm actually not an expert in this, but what I am expert in is this. And knowing that you're not an expert in anything.
Here's
so
the thing.
it's like,
Well,
okay.
I won't speak on that because I don't have the statistics to prove that. But what I do have the statistics for is this. Because he will not speak without statistics.
Right.
Because he knows that words lie and numbers tell truths.
Right.
Oh, I love watching him. Even if I disagree with him, I so enjoy watching him debate somebody.
He does like movie reviews and shit now. Like
He does some, he has a couple of different style podcasts.
He did a movie review on John Wick 4, and then I listened to the beginning of it. I'm like, he can eat a dick. So then I just didn't watch the rest of it because he was like, I wanted to like it, and it was like the worst movie. I'm like, all right, you're an idiot.
Doesn't agree with you, and all of a sudden he's dumb. Really?
Exactly. No,
real mature, Christopher.
I just think you can't analyze a movie like that. Those movies, there's really not like you need to suspend all disbelief for that kind of shit and just enjoy it. But that's the part he was saying. He's like, it wasn't even enjoyable. I'm like, that's not true.
That's not, yeah, okay. I'll agree to disagree with him on that one.
Yeah.
Because there was a lot of shit that was fucking retarded in that movie. But
100%.
that's part of the whole thing.
Part of the thing.
Okay, totally off topic. Really, you know what? No, because we're going to get into it. We're ending this episode, dang it.
Yep.
My last thought about it would just be that I'm very interested to see what political parties exist in like 50 years.
I won't be alive, so.
Yeah, you won't.
No.
I'll be fine. It's always the unhealthy people that live longer.
You'll be a head floating.
Look, man, bad people don't die on planes.
You'll be hooked up to a computer.
That's all I'm saying. I'll be eternal because when the AI takes over, I've been so polite to this motherfucker that he's gonna be like, "You're one of my vessels."
Right. I will store your sentience in my hard drive.
Thank you.
I will build you a body.
It's a fatter body than my body. You will still know your place.
It's a ball with a
You
head.
are a worm. Oh, but no, I am interested to see what that would be like because I honestly don't think that a Republican Party as it is now has any chance of surviving more than another, like maybe 20 years.
No.
Because everybody's going to die off and they just don't have enough. They don't have enough people coming in that I think are as strong-willed as the people that are leaving. So it's going to get weaker and weaker.
There's a young
party.
group that, as you mentioned, like Shapiro and like Charlie Kirk or whatever his name is, and some of the other.
I don't think Shapiro's Republican. I'm pretty sure he's like libertarian.
Yeah, no, but he's.
And that's not like it's the little brother of Republicans or anything.
A lot of those same. Yeah, well, I don't think he takes the position.
He hates liberals. That's the difference.
Right.
Well, that's not fair. That's not fair. He hates liberals.
Right.
So do I.
It's the same thing with Jordan Peterson. If you know Jordan Peterson,
I know. I just can't think of what he looks like.
Older gentleman. I'll show you later. But if you know Shapiro and not Peterson, it's interesting.
I'll have to see the picture and I'll be able to. I know the name.
They reference each other all the time too. So, but he got famous when he refused to do the whole gender pronoun thing, and he's a college professor. I think Canada. I think what it is, and he's like, you can't make me say something like say that. Like you can't make me refer to someone. They can't force me to do it by law. Is basically what his point was. It wasn't like he wasn't going to be respectful and as a nice human being do that with someone. It's the fact that when you write it into law in the language, that's a problem, you know, and that's where he had his big stance years ago. But he's had multiple books and he's podcasts. He's a John Rogan podcast. Like he's all over the place.
It's one of those. Once I see him, I'll be like, oh, okay, I know who you're talking about.
Yeah.
I can't picture his face, and that's usually what I need to be able to recollect stuff.
Regardless, people say they assume you're just angry Republican conservative. He's like, I've never said I was that. You're assuming I'm that because I take a stance on this, which happens to be a logical approach to it.
Right.
And then you're attributing that's
why I think that I tend to like people that have that mindset because I have a much more logical mindset.
Right.
My brain works better that way.
Right. Yeah, but you know, they're idiots on both sides of the aisle.
Absolutely.
And
we're fucked either way.
Yeah, I mean, we're idiots and we don't even have a side of the aisle, so
I wasn't even invited to the building.
Yeah.
So it is what it is. But if you enjoyed this conversation, next week we will have another little fun guest appearances by Jonathan when we'll be discussing parenting Gen Z /Alpha.
Yeah.
It's actually a pretty interesting conversation. We had to pre-record for scheduling reasons, but it's a really good conversation because we all have children that are kind of in multiple, like you have only alphas.
Right.
Mine is probably an alpha, but could be on the cusp of either, and he is one of each. So it's just a really good conversation from just like the different parenting styles and whatnot. And while we all agree on certain things, I think we all disagree on certain things as well. So it was a pretty good conversation.
Yeah.
So you have that to look forward to next week. But yeah, outside of that, make sure you're checking out our YouTube channel at youtube.com/@VentiQuestions. Every Friday there should be a video coming out from the previous week. And I do apologize just for the technical difficulties the last couple of weeks. They were just, life unfortunately took place. And yeah, I don't really have anything else. You guys?
Not the board game or the cereal.
Ha ha ha. Anyway, make sure that you leave a comment below about what you think about political parties. Do you think that the Republican Party is going to last another 50 years? Do you think that one of the third-party ones deserves a conversation of its own? Let us know in the comments below. Make sure you also give us a subscribe as well. And other than that...
Ain't no party but a gangster party.
Okay, bye.
Bye.